Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to be detectives and solve an ecological mystery. We're going to figure out what keeps all the amazing places on our planet healthy and just full of life. And it all comes down to this really powerful idea called biodiversity. Okay, let's dive right in. Our mystery begins in the chilly waters off the coast of Alaska, inside these incredible underwater worlds called kelp forests. Seriously, you can think of them like rainforests, but, completely under the sea. So check this out. On one side, you have a healthy kelp forest, just buzzing with different plants and animals. But on the other side, we see something called a sea urchin barren. It's like a bustling underwater city that suddenly turned into a rocky, empty desert. And it's happening because these spiky little creatures, sea urchins, are taking over and pretty much eating everything. And that leads us to the big question for today. How can one little change, like way more sea urchins, cause a whole system, a whole ecosystem, to just collapse? To figure this out, we're going to need to gather some clues. So for our first major clue, we need to understand this big idea called biodiversity. I promise you, understanding this is the key to solving our entire kelp forest mystery. So what is it? Well, to put it simply, biodiversity is just all the different kinds of living things you can find in one area. And I mean everything. It's not just the big, cool animals. We're talking from the tiniest little bacteria in the dirt all the way up to the tallest trees and the biggest whales out in the ocean. You can almost think of it like a report card for nature. An ecosystem that has high biodiversity, meaning lots and lots of different plants and animals, that's like getting an A+. It's healthy, it's strong. But low biodiversity, that tells us that something there is really struggling. Now, what's super interesting is that all this life isn't just spread out evenly across the planet. Nope, there are certain places called biodiversity hotspots that are just absolutely jam-packed with different species. And if you look at this map, you can see a lot of them are kind of clustered right around the equator. These are usually tropical areas where it's warm and rainy, which are, of course, the perfect conditions for all kinds of plants to grow. And this points to a super simple but really important rule in nature. Plants are the foundation for everything. They provide the food, they create homes and shelter, and they offer places to hide from predators. So a key takeaway here is this. Wherever you find a whole bunch of different plants, you're almost always going to find a whole bunch of different animals too. Okay, let's move on to our next clue. Let's look at how having all this variety, all this biodiversity, actually makes an entire ecosystem stronger and way better at handling problems when they pop up. This whole idea is called ecosystem stability. And really, all that means is that an environment can handle some bumps in the road and bounce right back. It's kind of like how a healthy person with a strong immune system can fight off a cold and get better pretty quickly. Okay, this table gives us a perfect example with insect pollinators, like bees. Look at that top row. In a diverse community, one with lots of different types of pollinators, the total population stays stable, even when the weather changes a bit. But now look at that bottom row. If you only have the blue species, just a little less rain causes their population to totally crash. See, that's the key right there. That variety creates a safety net. In that diverse group, if one type of pollinator has a bad year, another type that might do better in those conditions can step up and fill its role. Without all that variety, there's no backup plan. It's that safety net that gives the whole ecosystem its strength. All right, so we know what makes an ecosystem strong. But what happens when that strength gets put to the test? What happens when things get disturbed? So a disturbance is really just any event that shakes things up. It could be something totally natural, like a big wildfire or a flood, or it could be something caused by humans. And this brings us right back to our kelp forest. And here it is. This is it, the solution to our mystery. This quote tells us exactly what happened. People hunted way too many sea otters for their fur, and it turns out sea otters are the #1 animal that eats sea urchins. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. By removing the otters, a really critical link in that food web was broken. That safety net was just gone. Without their main predator to keep their numbers down, the sea urchin population just exploded. They were totally free to munch away on all the kelp, and they turned that beautiful, diverse forest into an empty wasteland. The whole ecosystem was knocked out of balance, all because one key piece was taken away. But here's the cool part. Disturbances can also be a positive thing, especially when they help restore balance. Just look at this incredible story from Yellowstone National Park. Wolves had been gone for 70 years. But when they were brought back, they put that ecological safety net back in place.
They started this amazing chain reaction that made the entire park healthier, helping everything from the trees to the beavers. And that right there shows us something really, really important. Even though humans can sometimes be the cause of these problems, we can also be the solution.
Now, we have seen how our actions can damage ecosystems, right? We might clear forests to build things, which destroys animal homes. Or we might overharvest a species. Exactly what happened with the sea otters, which completely upsets the natural balance and breaks that critical safety net. But, and this is a big but, there is some really good news. There's a whole field of science that is dedicated to fixing these problems. It's called restoration ecology, and its whole purpose is to help nature heal and bounce back from all this damage. These scientists do some truly amazing work. They get rid of harmful species that don't belong there, they help rebuild homes for animals, and they come up with plans to bring damaged areas back to life. They're basically biodiversity superheroes, and they prove that we can absolutely make a positive difference. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Biodiversity isn't just something that exists in faraway rainforests or deep in the ocean. It is right here, all around us. So the next time you're outside, maybe in a park or even just in your own backyard, take a second to look around. What different kinds of plants and insects and birds can you see? What's that amazing web of life like right where you live?